Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Members, it's my view that it is now reasonable to move on to the next theme, and therefore we shall move on to the debate on boards of trustees and management of schools, comprising clauses 73 to 97, 147 and Schedule 2.
Mr. Chairman.
I call Chris Hipkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to take one very quick call at the beginning to deal with a slight standalone issue before I get into the issues around school governance, and that's to deal with a question around seclusion, because these provisions were added in as the bill progressed through. And there's one remaining, in my view, outstanding issue that I would like to work through, and it's to do with the definition of seclusion. And I just want to talk through that. The definition of seclusion as incorporated in the bill says seclude in relation to a student or child means to place the student or child involuntarily alone in a room from which he or she cannot freely exit, or from which the student or child believes that he or she cannot freely exit. And there are some definitional issues around here that have prompted quite a bit of debate, including after we had deliberated on this section of the bill at the Select Committee, because it was a bit of a last-minute addition. And the issue really is around the phrase which the student or child believes that he or she cannot freely exit. Because as schools and principals have pointed out, the authority-type relationships that exist within schools create some different understandings and expectations to what we might have as grown adults, in the sense that schools are concerned that this could be interpreted as if they give a child an instruction, stay in this room and you may not leave, that could be, because of the power relationship that exists there, that the schools are concerned that that could be interpreted by the child as them not being able to freely exit. And so while the door might not be locked, for example, the door could be closed, the schools are concerned that the power dynamics that exist could result in the student being under the impression that they could not freely exit, and therefore the school could find themselves in violation of this, the actual wording of this bill, if not the spirit, because the spirit is a good one, and it is one that we are absolutely in support of, which is that seclusion has no place in schools, but time-out does. Time-out is a legitimate strategy in a school. So, and I know that schools use it. For the kids who get amped up, they are asked to, they are told to go into a room, calm down, have some time by themselves and come back when they've recomposed themselves. That's a legitimate behavioural management strategy, one that protects the teacher, the student and the other, the student and the other students in the class. And we don't want to create an environment where schools can't use that as a strategy because they're concerned that they might fall foul of the seclusion prohibition. So I'm not going to talk any further about that, because it's literally just the issues of clarification around how that could be interpreted to ensure that we don't end up inadvertently preventing schools from using a legitimate behavioural management strategy.
Mr. Chair, I think,
The Honourable Hickey,
given the